right, Little Rock, grab your coffee, get jacked up. It's time for another episode of the Block Talk Podcast, and I'm your host, Jamie Taylor, here with a good friend of mine, Mr. Kendel Grooms.
Hi, Jamie.
Hi, it's good to see you not on the other set.
I know.
So all these years later, we finally meet on my original show to discuss your story and the value that you have added to not only my many blocks of time, but to the blocks in our city here in Little Rock. You've been practicing law for several years. So tell me where you first graduated high school and where you went to college, and we'll go from there.
Okay. I went to CAC here in Little Rock.
Go Mustangs.
Yep. Grew up in Sherwood. My parents went to Sylvan Hills. I chose to go to CAC for some reason. I don't remember why. They asked me in 6th grade where I wanted to go, and that's what I said.
Mustang Mountain makes it look cool because it's like you get to go to Mustang Mountain. So it's not like you go to the middle school.
That's right.
It's a big thing.
That's
I
right.
understand.
I enjoyed my time there. Graduated there in 2002, and then went to Fayetteville for college.
That's what I love. You're 1 year older than me, so I get to just
Yeah.
So there we go. So you go to college in Fayetteville. So you're Razorback Woo Pig.
Yes.
Okay, and you.
That's pretty much the reason I went up there. I don't know that it was for an actual education.
Just to call the hogs, pretty much, just to play
football and basketball. Yeah.
Yeah, and golf probably.
Yeah.
So tell me about your experience in college and what makes you decide. Because I don't know. I mean, I've never really even asked you this. What you did. You know, what was your first job? What kind of job did you have before you went to college? You know, and then why did you decide to be a lawyer? This is one of the hardest things in life to do. Doctor, lawyer.
Well, my first job was actually at a law firm. My dad's a lawyer.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
Yeah.
Your dad is a lawyer.
You knew that.
I did, but I forgot. Like, back then, I'm thinking, because whatever my parents did looked difficult, and I didn't want to do it. So I
was a courier.
Yeah.
I delivered packages and documents and ran things to the courthouse and stuff like that.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was fun. I got to know all the back roads here in downtown, all the alleyways and the shortcuts and all that stuff.
You know your way around the one-ways?
Oh, yeah.
I've been here 12 years. I still don't.
I do.
Yeah. So going to college to be a lawyer, though, you first start out, you got your college basics, right?
Yes.
You get up there, do you already have the idea in mind?
I actually had a plan to go to medical school. That was my plan.
Okay. What's up?
And so I started off as, for some crazy reason, I love math. Everybody tells me I have a math brain. I love math. So I started off as a physics major in college. Did that for, I think, a year and a half. And when I got into the having to do all the advanced calculus courses, I was like, forget this. I like math, but this is not for me. I like to solve a problem. I don't like all this stuff about theory and why things exist the way they do and definitions and things. That's not math.
No, you're not into math turning into science.
Some mathematician would disagree with me, but to me, that's not math. I like calculating things, fixed answers, not some theory or abstract idea about why some math problem solves itself the way it does. If I get the right answer, that should be the right answer, in my opinion.
Correct. Okay, well,
So that lent to being a lawyer, honestly. But the other thing is when I realized I was going to have to take organic chemistry too and not just the first part of it, I was done. So I ended up as a biology major, a science major coming out. And that actually led to a job opportunity in law school. We can talk about it later. But I graduated with a biology major, went to law school here, UALR, just right close to where we are here. And I graduated college in 2006, went to law school right after that the next year. Graduated law school in 2009. I got a joint degree as a part of the law school program. They do a cool program where you can do a joint degree where you can get a master's of business, or you can get, they do the, it's not social services, it's like a public policy deal with the Clinton School. Okay. They do I think it's a public service degree. It's something along those lines. I can't remember, but there's multiple different joint degrees you can get. So I enrolled in the joint degree program for law school and to get a master's of business.
Nice.
Yeah, and what they do is they let you exchange hours. There's a certain list of courses that you take that count in law school that count for your hours in your business program, and there's a certain number of courses you can take in the MBA program that count for law school hours. And so you actually get 12, it's either 9 or 12 free hours that exchange with one another towards each program.
Okay.
And so it also let me take less hours of law school, which was nice.
Yeah.
But ended up graduating law school in 2009. It took an extra year, and I got a master's of business at UALR.
That's really exciting. And now you're stacked. So you come out and you've got all the different degrees you need to really come out and make a big impact. Now, I'm going to stop in your story, though, because I happen to know that you have a incredibly beautiful wife and family, 2 great kids that are super fun. So where do you meet Carrie along the way? Let me get that in.
Yeah, I skipped that part of the story, didn't I?
Well, I knew you didn't get through law school by yourself, so.
No, I actually met Carrie second year of college at Fayetteville. She had a friend that we had known from freshman year, and me and a bunch of friends that we had made freshman year coordinated on what dorm we were going to live in the second year, and she ended up moving in with that friend, and so we all lived on the same floor of the dorm room. That fly is back again today.
I know. It's so fly in here. It's so fly in here.
Fly in here.
But this is the thing.
There's another one of your 90s bands, some Sugar Ray.
Oh, that's another one. Yeah. Okay. And so for our listeners too, FYI, if it's your first time, Kendel and I go way back too, because the thing about lawyers and realtors, they have business to do together. So we met, actually, that is how we met. And then you have formed several companies and ventures that I've been involved with. You've given me incredible legal advice and friendship over the years. So this has been really fun for me to kind of go back and hear where you started, because we never had that discussion. We just hit the ground running as we do. So now you've got Carrie beside you, and you've graduated law school, and you're going to start a family, and you're going to do
We actually got married while I was in law school.
Oh, my gosh. You are so mean.
Yeah.
You made her plan a wedding while you were in law school?
Yeah.
Okay. Carrie, big ups.
She was working, too.
Yeah, I know, but that's a lot. Law school's a thing. Yeah. I have friends with husbands in law school right now, and they're like, yeah, he's in law school.
She was working at Alltel during that Alltel. Well, she worked Alltel out of college, and then she worked there until Verizon bought them out.
Windstream bought them out, didn't they?
No, Verizon brought out.
Oh, the wireless side. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, back to your story. Mm-hmm. So now you've got a law degree. You're stacked up. You can just go to work for any firm in town. You can go work with your dad. You can do all these different things. Tell me about your journey from there to where you are now, and how the practice of law has kind of changed for you over that time.
Okay. It's I didn't know what kind of law I wanted to do, number one. I did not think that trial law was what I wanted to do when I got out. Didn't really know. And so I actually, to be honest with you, took advantage of some resources that I had.
Yeah.
Took advantage of some resources, because I don't have a problem doing that. If you've got them, why not use them? If you've got connections, why not use them? Yeah. No reason not to. And so my dad's law firm, I think it's the 5th biggest firm, Grooms. I think it's Arkansas Business just released it. That list, the law issue was a couple weeks ago. I think they were number 5 as far as size goes. But they have an anti-nepotism clause. They're not just going to hire everybody's kid that comes up through law school.
To prove yourself.
Accountant, office manager, secretary, doesn't matter what you are on any level, they're not going to hire anybody's kids. And that got established. I was a courier for them, and there were things that happened after I left with other people's kids, and they decided that it was a good idea just to implement that. Right. Now, I was the first of any of their kids to actually go to law school and get a law degree, and so the decision, they talked about it, and the decision was made to keep that same enforcement. So I never had the option to go work there. Don't think I would have anyways, but I never had the option to go there. My dad travels way too much, and I had a family, so I wanted to be around here.
Yeah. Well, it's incredible to me, though, because you do talk about using resources, and one of the things that is a resource in our state kind of is due to the firm and the work that your dad has done, because he's had such a big, heavy hand in a lot of those contracts that that are written for our state, which are exemplary. So there's definitely a good line there of attorney work. So a lot of people, at least in my experience, when talking about my relationship with you, is, oh, that's Tim's son. That's, there is already going to be that degree of separation thing in Little Rock, where it's a big city, little town. Everybody
in real estate knows who he is. Right. Everybody does.
Right. And so that's one of those things for you. I'm interested to hear kind of what made you go the other direction, because real estate law would have been natural, would have been easy, and you do a lot of it. I mean, I know you do a lot of it because we still work together in that area, but tell me how you decide to go the trial route, because I don't know either if y'all realize this, but homeboy's prepared in the courtroom. It looks pretty badass, Kendel, when you really break it down on a client.
So...
Sorry.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Well,
you've seen it happen.
I have seen it, and I'm telling you, the CI stuff that you guys watch, this courtroom stuff on TV, it's way better in person. It's like,
it's nothing like TV though either.
No,
nothing like TV.
It's way more terrifying. But anyway, continue.
So, he asked me what I wanted to do, and I just told him that I wanted to work at a small law firm. He basically said, where do you want to go? I didn't want to work at a big law firm. Wanted to work on my own time, essentially work for myself. The way that the lawyers set it up now is they'll set up their own private company, private corporation. That company's what gets employed by someone else, and you work on your own time. They all do independent contractor contracts. There's not really an employment agreement, at least not the way we've run it, not the way that I understood that a lot of places run it at that point in time.
Right.
Now I know much better how it all works. But
I bet owning a law firm probably helped you with that.
Yes, it does. And so he called a good friend of his, Don Campbell, who's my law partner, Campbell and Grooms.
He practices law. Good.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how we tell people we're like Campbell, like the soup, when we spell his name. So everybody knows that. But he called Don. Don just happened to have left another job and started a small law firm with a couple other lawyers, and they were looking to hire a couple of associates underneath them as partnerships. So I ended up meeting with them, took a job with them in the summer after I graduated law school. So I didn't have a law degree yet. I started working on some projects, things like that. Got my bar exam results September 4th, 2009. The 4th at 4 is what we all said because it was released 4 o'clock on September 4th, 2009. Found out I passed the bar exam that day. Congrats. Stuck in traffic on the freeway when I found out. I was trying to
I bet you didn't mind getting stuck.
I was trying to be at home with family and stuff when the results came out and I ended up getting stuck in traffic.
That's so awesome, though, because then you got to do your silly little dance all by yourself.
That's right. That's right. I still have that email, by the way, in my
sure
phone
you do.
today.
Yeah, it's kind of like how I printed my first testimony and it's hanging on my wall. So it's
exactly.
Fine. Yeah.
There you go. And so passed the bar exam, worked with them for a couple of years, and then Don and there were some issues at the firm that are not publicly disclosable. Some issues at the firm, and it ended up splitting off in a whirlwind, pretty much overnight. I mean, incidents happened in late January of 2012. Carrie was 9 months pregnant at that point in time.
Perfect timing.
We have a week-long jury trial on a construction case scheduled in the first week of February. And so, no, I'm sorry, in the second week of February. Clients are like, when's your baby going to be born? Because we don't want this to interrupt our jury trial. And I'm going, I hope it's either before or after. And so Owen ends up getting born right before the jury trial happens. We come home from the hospital on a Friday. I go set up the courtroom for this jury trial that Friday night, and the next week I'm gone. We have a jury trial the whole week. The first week my son's born.
See what I mean?
I know.
That's why I called Carrie in the
and
story
so
early.
we end up winning that case. Dawn and I end up winning that case. I didn't do much at that one. I was still a baby lawyer. He first chaired it.
I like when you say that you were a baby lawyer.
Yeah.
But anyway.
And I think that's the first time I've been in a jury trial. That we actually had one of my family friends on that jury, and he was the only person that voted against us. It was a funny story. That's different. That's a longer story. Anyways, we come back from that, take a week off, hang out with the kid, and within the next month, we form Kendel and Grooms. In fact, I know the date of that one as well. It's February 28th, 2012.
You are kind of a numbers person, though.
Yeah.
So I mean, to be quite honest, you have a photogenic memory when it comes to, and if you don't know that, you do. You'll call me sometimes and be like, squiggly line S17 41142, which squiggly line means
section.
Thank you. But you'll do that, and it's like, gosh, that's pretty great that you remember that. I mean, I've got too many. If I do 4 contracts in a day, I'm like, what did that one say? So anyways, that being said, that's really exciting. And when you guys did open, you had a different location than the one you have now.
Yes.
We'll talk about the move here later. And I know Jane's probably been here like since the very beginning, right?
Jane was at the other law firm, and we asked Jane if she would come with us to the new law firm because the other partner in that firm was retiring. She didn't want to practice anymore.
Well,
and so she didn't have anywhere to go. It's still flying here. She didn't have anywhere to go, and so
he's part of the show now. He wants to say something.
He is. He's like wanting to be on camera. And so Jane agreed to come with us. We joked with her. We said, well, the only reason we're bringing you is because you know how to work QuickBooks. But she's very good at what she does.
Carrie knows how to work QuickBooks too. So anyways, this is the thing. She's great, and I like her a lot. She's very fun to work with. When you come in the firm, she's welcoming, but she's also like, what are you doing here? So she has that kind of like...
She's very protective.
She's protective, and she should be. You guys have an incredible amount of knowledge. There's a lot of things that go on behind closed doors. So now I kind of want to get into the intricacies of practicing law, because a lot of our listeners may be law students. They might be people who eventually want to become attorneys. They might be business people who want to start companies that don't really understand how badly they need an attorney who can also explain to them business structures. I mean, I call you and ask you questions about my current operating agreements like this morning. So it doesn't matter how long you're in business. An attorney can be the most valuable person on your team. And I kind of want to sort of break that down and figure out exactly why. Because at the end of the day, your why to become an attorney wasn't just to make money and build a practice. There was something about solving problems and serving needs that made you also get a public service bridge degree, right?
Honestly, it sounds cheesy. I think this is actually on my website because I had to type up some deal years ago, and I thought it was, you know, when you do something like that, you're like, let's just get this done and over with. I actually spent a lot of time thinking about it, but when it's kind of like real estate license, for example, or an appraiser's license. A lawyer gets a license. That's what you get. You get a piece of paper that says you passed the bar exam. You're licensed in the state. A license is not something that anybody can get. It's not something you can go down. We've talked about it on our other show about the low bar to getting a real estate license. It's not that difficult to do. You pass a test, but it's nothing like taking the bar exam. Mm-mm. And so I've always viewed a license, and Arkansas law views a license as a privilege. It's something that you're given that can be taken away just as easily as it can be given. And so I've always viewed it as an opportunity to use a license to help people. And that's what I want to do. Whether it's a contract that somebody needs, a business somebody needs set up, a full-blown $1 million lawsuit somebody needs to have tried, whatever it may be, that's what I want to use it for. And that's why I enjoy doing it, and that's ultimately the reason I decided to do it.
Well, what's fun about that for you, though, is you can choose anything. Because as an attorney, you can literally choose anything you want to do because it is the practice of law, right? So you don't have to be versed in any specific law, right?
Correct.
Okay, so that's cool.
I mean, when you look back at the presidents of the United States, I don't know. There's only like 6 of them that haven't had a law degree.
Wow, I never even.
Or 8. It's something like that.
Okay.
Multiple of the presidents have been.
I knew a lot of them had law degrees, but I didn't know there was such a high percentage.
There are many people that graduated from my law school class that have never practiced 1 minute of law.
That's interesting to me. That's interesting to me. And that's what I'm also curious about, though, is because with the practice of law, and let's just kind of break down my relationship with you as far as that goes. You form companies for me, but there's also times like worst day of my life, Mother's Day 2021. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Yeah.
What a bunch of bull.
Yeah.
I get called by a scammer. Hey, Mrs. Taylor. Basically, by the end of this, they have me, of all people, and you're my attorney.
They got you hooked.
They got me hooked, and I'm not calling you because they've told me that I'm under a gag order. But I would like to, first of all, just give the example that I clearly respect the law enough to stay under my gag order. Yeah. I didn't call my attorney. I'm like, if this is a really high-profile real estate case and they're saying what they said on the phone, they were scamming me. But here's the thing. People call you on the worst day of your life, on their life. It was Sunday on Mother's Day. I really thought that I was going to spend my Mother's Day in jail.
Well, we'll do a PSA on this show as well, that anytime somebody tells you don't call your lawyer, that means the first thing you should do is call your lawyer.
Yeah, because you have totally have a right to call your lawyer all the time, no matter what. So it was fun to get you on the phone and have you totally take that situation and run with it. But I bring it back to the why of it, because that was a horrible moment for me. I didn't know what to do. And there's times in business I haven't known what to do, and I've been able to call you and you've been able to break it down and say, look, here is what your options are. This is where you're at. This is where we need to get you. These are the steps we need to take. So did you naturally have the ability to problem solve and break people's things down like that? Is it emotional for you? Because you don't seem like it is, but I know it probably is.
The first one I can't answer. I don't know. I guess. I guess it's natural. Yeah. I don't know. I never planned on being a trial lawyer. The law firm that I ended up at, they did a mixture of a lot of different things, but they had trials, and that's what we started doing. So whether it came naturally or not, I guess it did. That's not really what I planned on, not really what I ever thought. This is absolutely what I want to do. Right. And what was the second part?
Well, but now that you're into it, and that's what I was about to say, is so you're in a situation where the second part was asking, now that you do it, is that your why? Are you emotional about it? Do you get engaged with your cases?
So emotion, I think a lot of lawyers try to keep emotion out of it because you need to be objective. The law is objective. It's statutes and cases, and it is what it is. There is room for interpretation. That's why lawyers do what they do. So that's why some of them get a bad reputation, because you can interpret things a lot of different ways. That's what you're taught to do in law school. But some people take that to the extreme of interpreting it, even if it's the wrong interpretation.
Whatever, to get it done, right?
Whatever to get it done, yes, that kind of thing. So, yeah, I mean, I try to keep emotion out of it. I can go yell at another lawyer in a courtroom for an hour, and we can go out and have dinner together afterwards or lunch together afterwards. It's everybody understands it's a professional thing. Every once in a while, it does get emotional, and I try not to. Try really hard not to. I've had some lawyers get really mad at me about stuff, even if I won, and maybe that's why they get mad. I'm not sure. Not like an ultimate result, but sometimes just a simple hearing on something that we had asked the court, tell us what to do here in this, and somebody will get really mad and they never get over it, and they stay mad at you. And I don't understand that, because it's a professional deal where you're representing clients. Nobody's intentionally harming anybody from the lawyer standpoint.
Right.
But emotion, it's best in the law if emotion stays out of it.
That's hard for me, as you know. That's been something that's difficult for me, because emotion drives everything I do. You know what I mean? That's when I get up in the morning, and that's kind of, I guess, what my question comes down to is, how do you even decide what cases you're going to take?
I think it's changed me, number one, because I feel like I used to be more emotional than I am now. And so I think that it's changed me. I try to feel emotion for a client's case, certainly, if someone's had some problem. But as far as the courtroom practice,
it is black and white when you get in there. Yeah. I will tell you guys, from a performance standpoint, it's incredible. So let's jump into the trial lawyer thing. Because you're like, yeah, I guess it comes naturally. And then I'm thinking, duh, Jamie, it comes naturally. Because you do take on, like we talked about, forming companies, those normal kind of litigation situations, small lawsuits, real estate transactions.
We tell people we do everything except we don't do any Social Security stuff. We don't do any, like, Securities and Exchange Commission stuff. And we don't do any workers' comp stuff. And pretty much everything, and Dawn does a little bit of criminal, but pretty much anything else out there, we will.
Essentially, you do what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's the thing. You do what you want, and I really admire that. But at the end of the day, the emotion for me, I guess I'm wondering as an attorney, like, what if your guy is wrong? What if he's a horrible person and he comes to you and he's like, hey, Kendel, I'm a horrible person. I intend on continuing to be a horrible person. I don't want to change at all, but I need you to get me out of trouble. Does it matter to you?
Yes.
Okay. So with your client, do you get to choose and say, okay, I'm not going to serve you? I like that. So you can just pick and choose.
And would.
Yeah.
And we are very picky about our clients now.
Yeah. Because now you don't have to put up with, and I was about to ask that too. Okay. So you know how in real estate you get clients and you're like, oh, it's a great client. And then later on you're like, oh, no, maybe not. Does that happen to you too? You're drawing into a lawsuit and you're like 6 months into it and you're like, can we fire them?
Yes.
Can you fire them?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Your job's juicier than I thought because we really have
never talked about... We have an engagement letter with every client, and the engagement letter gives us the right to withdraw from any case, any action, any representation, as long as it doesn't prejudice their case in any way. So if there's a pending trial 2 weeks out, you may not be able to.
Right.
And even if you ask the court for permission, the court may not grant permission to let you out. But things like transactional work, forming corporation work, that kind of stuff,
see ya.
You're gone.
See ya.
If I find out you're doing something shady, do something I don't like, won't listen to me, won't take my advice, then you're gone.
Yeah. Well, on the flip side, too, I would like to talk about this a little bit, is you've given a lot of opportunity, too, though, in areas for people to do, like, the expert stuff. You've got a great Parker. I want to talk about Parker a little bit.
Okay.
You've got some great things around you as far as giving people opportunity and connecting people into places that they wouldn't otherwise be connected if you didn't go ahead and give them that opportunity. Has that been something that has carried through your entire law career, or is it something that's just now starting to happen? Have you built this big network?
It's slowly grown. We used to get a lot of referrals from my dad's law firm on conflicts that they had, especially in the real estate industry, because anytime that there was a real estate agent potentially involved in any litigation or any issue, they represent the insurance companies, the errors and omissions insurance companies, so they would have an automatic conflict. So we ended up with a lot of casework on the real estate side arising out of that.
Right.
And as a really and truly as a testament to the real estate community, I get referrals from people at closing companies. I get referrals from other agents. I get referrals from that community constantly, and I've met a bunch of people through doing the real estate work. And it's a good community for the most part. We've discussed some of the issues on.
We have another show we can talk about that, yeah.
But it has grown. We talk about it all the time. Jane used to worry constantly about, we get rid of a big case, try a big case, settle a big case. Where's the money coming from? Where's the next case coming from? And I always told her, Jane, there's always another case. People are going to do stuff that's going to create another case. And I've consistently been right for the better part of the last 10 years.
Yeah. Well, I would say that not only have you been right, but you've made a huge impact in Central Arkansas because of the fact that you have now you have been awarded the Greatest Trial Lawyer Award. And how did that feel?
The Greatest Trial Lawyer.
I think I'm sorry. It's not the official name.
So 3 lawyers. I'll tell the brief story about the case, but my law partner, Don Campbell, and myself and Jerry Kelly, who's a very well-known, well-respected lawyer over in Lone Oak. He has offices in Lone Oak and Carlisle. We won the Trial Lawyers of the Year award from the Arkansas Trial Lawyer Association. You're smiling at me about it.
I'm just excited because I know
for 2019, 2020. Literally, we had this case. I met Jerry Kelly. That's another referral source. I'm doing a lot of work with Jerry now. Jerry's brilliant. I love him. He does great work, great ideas. He's a pioneer of a lot of areas of law in the state at this point. He built this massive law practice and huge success out of Lone Oak and Carlisle.
Yeah.
And everybody knows who he is over there. I mean,
and it was really cool to meet him and talk with him. I was grateful. That's another thing. You hang out at your office, you meet some great legal minds walking around all day.
Well, Jerry he knows all these farmers from the casework that he's done in the past. He's represented probably thousands of farmers. And he calls my dad one night and says, hey, I need some help on this case. I can see that it's headed to bankruptcy court. I know nothing about bankruptcy court. Can you help? Can you guys help? And they said, no, we have a conflict with one of the banks. Call Kendel. And so Jerry calls me, and that's how I meet him. And we ended up taking on this case that I didn't know. If our clients had known what it was going to turn into, they never would have done it. But it was we call it the 0 grade case. We went to trial for a month in that case. I mean, right before COVID, they were shutting down schools. We were watching on CNN that it was in Asia and stuff, and the first cases that happened up in Washington in the U.S. that they confirmed, and we ended up getting our trial done, and we won on that. But that case is a whole different podcast, a whole different story. It was 6 years. Every single civil procedure rule you can imagine was involved in this case, and we tried it for a month. I actually moved to Lone Oak for a month in January and February for 6 weeks in January and February of 2020.
All right, we're going to stop real quick. Another big shout out to Carrie before we go back into your award. Because Kendel also moved to Lone Oak, sold his house, bought a new house.
No.
Yeah.
I moved to Lone Oak on a temporary
basis. Doesn't matter.
To a rent house, but yes.
The point is, you had also sold and moved at the same time. Yes. So now, Superwife has 2 kids while you're fighting the law battle of your life in Lone Oak in a rent house. But anyway, going back to the trial lawyers of the year.
Yeah, she actually moved our whole house. I wasn't there.
She did everything.
She moved everything.
This episode is sponsored by Carrie Grooms.
Yeah, I showed up to sign the closing paperwork, and that's it.
Yeah, shout out Billy.
I came home and hooked up some electronic stuff one night when we had an extra day off for a holiday from court, and that's about all I did.
But this is the thing, too, though, because you trial lawyers are up there, and the great legal work that you're doing inside this house, eating all those bagel bites, is you really are standing up and fighting for what your client needed to get done. And that is, for me, and I'm going back to the trial lawyer of the year thing, because what stood you apart, in my opinion, and I wasn't in that case, but I've seen you work, is that your preparation is on another level. There's a whole booklet of where to find everything. There's little boxes. They're all organized. I'm looking at other teams and other people in court trying to figure out what they're doing next and where is this in discovery and what item am I looking for. And Kendall's like, it's interrogatory number 6. It's item number 7. It's page 6. It's squiggly line 41-217.
And
you're very good at that.
That part does not come naturally.
No, and so tell me about.
That part comes with work.
Does it? I was going to say, so tell me about the preparation that it takes to be that kind of trial lawyer, because that's not an easily received award.
It takes a lot of work. They say that for every hour you're in court, you should spend 3 to 4 hours preparing. So you can imagine in a month-long jury trial for that particular case, or the one that you worked with us in where we were in court for 3 days, how many hours it takes just to prepare.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Parker. Parker's my associate. He and I sit up there all weekend, the week before, nights until 10 o'clock. When you have a trial, that's what the most important thing is. And you get ready for these things.
Yeah.
Prepare. It's a lot of preparation.
When I think people don't understand, too, that, if you don't understand everything on the ins and outs of your client, it's why I think being a lawyer requires you to be so intelligent on a different level. Because it's kind of like with me in real estate and appraisal, right? The reason I'm a good expert is because I have multiple different perspectives. And a lawyer has to understand everything about their client's business, everything about the situation the client got themselves into, everything about the actions of the other party, everything that has taken place from there, and have to stand back, be objective, and try to get to the point of all of this in defense of or support of their client. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, of course you know what I mean. But I'm saying that to say that all these things you have to get close to and learn about have nothing to do with law. So how has that impacted your career over the years? You know a little bit about everything now, huh?
I learned more about rice farming in our 0 grade case than I ever want. I went into that and I knew zero about farming. You could walk me up to a field and I would have no idea what was in it. And I still know nothing, but compared to what these people know. But I learned more about rice farming and soybeans, and I try to avoid the futures market and all that stuff. They tried to explain that to me about 10 times, and I don't get it still today. But those types of things, now I think Carrie thinks that I'm a nerd because we'll go by a field and I'm like, hey, there's some soybeans. Those look awesome. And I don't really know.
But that's the thing. You're flexing on your farm knowledge because you had to learn it to get to that point. And I think that's really cool because there's little pieces of each business, again, that you're going to pick up along the way. It makes it easier when you're going to form a company of people who are going to be rice farmers. You'll be able to say, actually, I've seen this happen. This is what you should do. And then with respect to geographical competence and things like understanding different kind of beans or whatever, the first thing that came to my mind when you guys were talking to me about the rice case, and it had already been settled by the time we were working together on something else, but when we talked about it, the first thing that kind of came to my mind was, well, did you ever think about getting an agricultural appraiser to come and look at the different values of the land before and after the loss and all these different things? And then we started talking about expert testimony. So let's dig into that a little bit and talk about when you're touching all these different pieces of people's businesses and you're investigating, going through discovery, how do you determine who you need to execute in a case when it comes down to witnesses and other people who are involved?
Well, that's really and truly the most important thing. From a legal standpoint, we prepare on legal arguments. There's things like motions that will get filed in a case, and you need to be prepared for those legal arguments. People know, just generically listening to the show, people know what hearsay is. Everybody's heard something of hearsay. Hearsay is not just a he said, she said type of thing. Hearsay is very complicated in the law and the way that it works, because sometimes that's okay. You can say what someone else said sometimes. Just because it is hearsay doesn't mean it's actually hearsay.
And it might cause somebody to change their actions or do something differently.
There are judges that don't understand what hearsay actually is.
Yeah, sorry.
There's judges that don't understand what it is. And so from that standpoint, on the legal side, that's really where I focus my attention. The facts are the facts.
Right.
By the time you get to a trial, you know what your facts are.
Right.
You know what the other side's facts are. So in my opinion, as to the facts, the most important thing is to have your witnesses prepared. The witnesses that have the facts. If someone has a random fact out here, my client can't testify about that fact if it didn't happen to them directly. So
or they don't have the subject matter knowledge.
Yeah, you have to bring this person in to testify about that.
So people don't know this is a thing, by the way. Like, when you told me about expert testimony, what was my response?
We can do that.
I was like, how much do I get paid? I'm just kidding, but seriously.
But then you have to have experts.
Right.
If there's a big issue of, which was in the 0 grade case, if there's a big issue of the deletion of text messages from a phone, and how messages get on a phone, how they leave a phone, if they can be recovered, how they might have been backed up, figuring out what the cell phone records say about when these messages were sent or received, or what should be there and what's not there. A client can't do that.
And you can't either.
A client
really
has no knowledge of that. And so you have to go out and you have to find someone that's qualified, that's done something like forensic analysis on phones and understands all this. And as an example, in that Rice case, we found a great expert in that case to testify on all of those issues. And that's what you've got to find.
And that's one of those things, those experts that have subject matter knowledge, but they also come in and that's like total badassery what they did. Like, go through and stalk and figure out exactly how everything happened. Yeah. Well, there were 7 text messages sent here, but there's only 3 in this picture. So where's the other 4?
Or you have a case where you have to determine what the value of a piece of real property was before and after. And you need someone who's an appraiser. And I know someone.
Yep, you do. Well, and that kind of brings me to where I want our listeners to.
But I want to give a shout out to Jamie, too, though, because Jamie is unique in that she has an appraiser's license and a real estate license. And so when you have a scenario like we had in the case where you worked for us, it's very nice, because I would have had to bring you in to give a value and then bring a separate person in to say, here's how that value would have been impacted by the real estate market or these various factors, external obsolescence, all that fun stuff.
This is Kendall's favorite term, for anyone who's wondering. It's called external obsolescence.
Yeah. I had a lawyer there, they go, you know what obsolescence is? Yes, I do. Jamie taught me what it is.
Forensic analysis
with Jamie
of cell
having
phones.
both, we had one-stop shop for the expert witness on those issues, and she did a spectacular job for us in that case.
And I'm going to keep doing it because we're going to open Kindling, remember?
That's right.
We're going to open Kindling. We'll talk about our app. We are calling it that. We're going to get a listener-based vote here in just a second.
Okay.
Yeah, but before we go there, the situation with experts is, and people listening to this who are entrepreneurs should really be aware of this, is whatever you're an expert on, somebody can pay you for that opinion. In addition to whatever your regular job is, people are always asking for side gigs. That's the greatest side gig I've ever done. A, I learned new things. B, I was challenged and I got to execute really well in fields that I have good understanding. C, was I doing numbers or letters? C, I was also, for me, I was able to provide something to a client who would have never gotten that anywhere else. It was something that the way that he looked at me when it was over is I had done my job and I had no connection with this man, had not met him, nothing.
He sat at the table next to us and he whispered over to us, he's like, this is the first time she's ever done this? And I was like, yeah. He's like, holy cow.
Well, I liked him, but it was one of those things where we solved a problem for somebody. And I was proud of what we did in that room because I learned something, but I also was able to help somebody solve a problem. And it came down to that whole thing of my interest in your career continued to get deeper and deeper and deeper from that moment. And we've continued to endeavor into I Hate Real Estate and into Jumpstart, into different things that we've done together because the respect I have for what you've built is great. But the other part is that we've just been able to build a friendship around a lot of really cool, fun ideas like this, matching experts with attorneys, trying to bring value and add value to people who have opportunities to provide that service. I mean, your office is in a building with a title company, and title companies, I cannot tell you how many times are involved in a real estate transaction where something goes up. I guarantee at some point there's going to be a case where you're going to need a title witness. And it's kind of cool that you can just go upstairs and be like, hey, Billy, Brad, I need your help. Come on down here. And I don't know if they know that, but if you guys don't know that, you're going to earn some expert testimony dollars.
Yeah, they do. And
Good.
we've exchanged work.
You are so fly.
I know.
I'm sorry.
We've exchanged work already. If we get title issues or part of transactions, we'll send it up to them. They've had some issues with like some quiet title, things they need cleaned up, but nothing major has been exchanged.
Yeah.
But it'll happen.
It will. And let's talk about first, there is something that majorly exchanged.
Okay.
We moved you off that building you were in Markham. And another shout out to Jakey Boy, who's our also duly licensed appraiser realtor guy, who came and totally knocked it out of the park because I was having a baby at the time. But we did get you guys moved. So tell me about the new digs.
The new office is amazing. It's like moving from, I want to be politically correct, it's like moving from a very bad area to the penthouse.
Yeah. That's, well, actually, and it's funny that you said that because I literally showed a foreclosed penthouse the other day. And I'm like, this is kind of ironic that it's a foreclosed penthouse. Like, who buys the penthouse and then forecloses? But anyways, the point is, the new office is not just amazing. It feels like you're in a real, like, don't take this the wrong way, but like a real office. Like, you go in there and it just feels very fancy.
Our other office was functional. Yes. It had the space that we needed to practice law. The 0 grade case, the huge case, we did 100% of that case out of that law office.
Yep.
Now, we didn't have space for depositions where there were 50 people at, which happened a few times, and we had to rent hotel conference rooms and stuff like that because we didn't have the space to do it, but we do now.
Yes, you do now. And that's the other thing, too. So if you guys are not aware of this move, I do want our listeners to know that they are right down there, smack dab on the Pulaski County title, same office, but they have a really big, cool sign out front now. And if you'll go down Highway 10, it's actually right next to Tzatziki's.
Between Tzatziki's and Purple Cow.
So, okay, well, I was going to keep the Purple Cow thing for myself, but thanks. Okay. I'm just kidding. So you can have ice cream and Greek food in the same moment while you're going. And that's good, because if you're at your lawyer's office, you probably need to comfort yourself anyway. Right. So go get some good food.
Just bring a milkshake with you.
Yeah, in fact, you might get a discount if you bring.
But anyway, with a purple milkshake, you get a discount.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing: what's next for you? Because I know that as far as like with our show taking off and us becoming famous podcasters about real estate, that's one thing. But outside of that and practicing law, what's next for Kendel and Grooms on the big picture? Are you guys planning to expand and grow from here, or are you just flying by the seat of your pants?
Well, we are. Two things. Number one, COVID hurt the trial lawyer industry badly because all the courthouses closed down.
Yep.
So we have been in recovery mode for quite a while, and it's going to be hard to get trials set because the criminal docket will always take preference over the civil docket, and right now we have 0 criminal cases pending.
Right.
And so you've had this backlog of criminal jury trials that haven't been tried over the last 18 months plus. All of those are going to have to be scheduled, and so getting scheduled for a jury trial is very difficult right now.
Yeah.
And so we're still recovering from that standpoint. We've done a lot of transactional work. We've taken on some additional clients. There's a bank that we represent. We've been doing a lot of work for a major commercial retail or commercial real estate brokerage. We do a lot of work for them. So we've been trying to expand a little bit in those areas. We actually represent David's Burgers now. We do some work for them. That's another one of those people. Alan Bubbas, he has a law degree. He owns David's Burgers, and he's never used it. He never took the bar exam.
Yeah, random aside, this is why I love our friendship. Yeah. I need that guy's phone number when you get a chance.
Right.
He's like a big name in the car. Yeah. He's apparently like real into classic car shows and stuff, or has connections in that area. Yeah. So I'm going to call him and ask. But
we hired Parker. I could see the writing on the wall with the Rice case coming. Now you're fly.
I know. So fly.
With the Rice case coming, I knew we needed additional help. And we hired Parker. And it's actually a funny story of why we hired Parker, if we have time.
Please, we do have time, and we have to talk about Parker because this is a great story.
Okay. So Parker was in law school. I submitted a request for resumes from the law school. They do that, where they'll take various of the graduating students. They call them 3Ls, the third-year law students.
The third-year law students.
And so
they made it.
They sent us a list of resumes for people. Well, we start looking down through the list of resumes, and we're like, oh, this person looks good. Let's contact this person for an interview. And we had like 4 or 5. Well, I get digging more in the resumes, and there's lines on like 3 or 4 of these that say worked for the Hilburn law firm, who was our opposing counsel in the Rice case. And it says, read through some thousands of emails for production in complex litigation in Lonoke County. And I was like, well, we can't hire any of these people. Mm-hmm. And it just so happens, I'm not saying we wouldn't have hired Parker. He wouldn't have been the choice because we would have interviewed several people. But the only resume I had left in my hand was Parker.
Yep.
Parker Spalding.
Yep.
And so we called Parker. We met him over at Corky's. Another shout out there.
Yeah.
But we met him over at Corky's for lunch one day. He plays golf, so I hired him automatically.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else mattered as long as he played golf. It was done and over with. Parker has been spectacular. He's way smarter than I am. Yeah. I'm not that smart.
Here's the thing.
I'm
the
not
thing with
that
Parker
smart.
Is he's
there are
younger
so
than
many
you.
people out there that are smarter than I am. I've always just had to work harder.
But here's the thing. He's younger than you, and the thing no offense, but like with Parker, it blows my mind. This kid is young and he's really smart, like you're talking about. Yes. And he's personable. He's nice to be around. So you're really fortunate in him.
He's like the classic Arkansas guy. He's like golf, duck hunting, wants to go do all. I mean, his office has got all kinds of duck decorations in it.
We're going to connect him with Brett.
I've never hunted one time in my life. I shouldn't be from Arkansas.
But that's not true because you do.
I do go fishing though, so that counts.
There's a lot of things that you do Arkansas.
And I know all about farmland.
Yeah, you're also a big, huge fan of the Arkansas Razorbacks, and that's enough right here. You actually moved here and adopted that team because I knew it would make me fit in. Yeah. So anyways, all that being said, Parker is an excellent addition.
Great. I handed stuff to Parker that when he first started that I fully expected I would get something back and have to spend more time cleaning it up than what he spent working on it in the first place, and that hasn't happened. Yeah. He's been great. Yeah. Good to work with. He's doing all kinds of stuff.
Plus, he has a lawyer name, Parker Spalding. Are you serious? Come on. Yeah. He knew he was going to be a lawyer. His mom's like, and I'm naming it. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, and as far as other expansion, it's not open yet, but we are opening a Hazen office in Hazen, Arkansas.
Okay, off we go.
Yep.
Who's moving there?
Pierce Cavanis is his name. Okay. And he just graduated law school.
Did you just call and ask for the cool name section of the law students? Yeah, Hi, can I have the 3 L's that have cool names? Anyone named John Smith just off the list right away.
We're doing it in conjunction with Jerry Kelly.
Okay.
It's going to be both law firms' names will be on the building, and Pierce is going to kind of work on it. He's going to have his own law firm over there, basically, but he's going to be working in conjunction with us. We're kind of mentoring him, working through, bills and stuff will come through our office, things like that. But we're doing it. We're opening up. There are hardly any lawyers over there now. Randy Gamble was over there for years. He was like the Hazen lawyer that everybody used, and he retired. And so that's why we jumped in. Jerry wanted us to jump in over there.
Well, that's a great move, and I'm just got this smirk on my face because I'm over here wondering, well, when you have 3 attorneys running a law firm, who writes the operating agreement?
Yeah, I'll write the operating. Ooh. Actually, there is no operating agreement. There was a 1099 contract that I wrote.
There you go, a 1099 contract. Yeah. So that's fun. Now, who gets in trouble? If someone gets in trouble, you guys going to fight? Can you hire each other to represent each other?
I don't think so.
It's not going to happen anyway. So what I will say about this conversation is it's the first one where we really talked about, your business structure, where you came from, where you're at. And it's so fun today, to call you friend and to be at the end of this with you and look back and kind of say, wow, you've come a long way from somebody who made a decision to go to college, support the Hogs. I don't want to do organic chemistry. Boom. Now I'm the greatest trial lawyer that Arkansas has ever seen. So
it's
overnight,
a little too much of a compliment.
Well, here's the thing, though. It might feel that way for you.
Jerry should be in that conversation. I'm not.
Here's the thing, though. Jerry is a little bit more senior than us. And the reason that Block Talk is where it is right now as far as the showcase of value is that there's a whole generation of our age and younger entrepreneurs and business people coming up in this city who are making massive income very quickly. And I feel like it's really important to push that out and show it to because you're a young guy. I mean, we're the same age, and I'm incredibly young, in case you guys are wondering. So when you're in your mid-30s and you've already accomplished this much, that's why I think it's important to show people that you never had a plan to do that. You came out and you worked your butt off until you got what you wanted and found a way to solve a problem, to add value to your family, to be able to be the dad and the husband that you want, to make the money you need to support that, and to also go out and make your community a better place. So I appreciate that.
I never had any plan that 3 years after law school I would own my own law firm. Wasn't ever the plan.
Well, the best laid plans, they never work out anyways, right?
That's right.
So I'm very excited that you were here to talk about your business, and I will see you again on Monday morning because we'll be recording another episode of I Hate Real Estate, which comes out this week. So congratulations on all your success, and thank you for being
Thanks
on the
for having me. It's fun on this show.
Thank you.
Our other one's serious.
I know.
Right?
Well, kind of serious. Till you get the gavel out. But here's the thing. Those of you who need law representation, if you need any sort of attorney and you're not a bad guy, reach out to Campbell and Grooms. You can find them online, and we'll put a link at the end of the show.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course. Thank you for being on the show. And Little Rock, we're out.